Yeah, we can just jump into it.
All the calls and stuff. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
So-
right on. Yeah, however you want to start off. And yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess we'll kick into it. So,
Yeah, we
Mitch,
will. Yeah,
I
after that
appreciate
little
you.
intrusion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, Mitch, I appreciate you taking the time and sitting down with me. So,
Absolutely.
I guess.
Thank you for doing it.
Yeah, you betcha. I know about you, but could you give like a quick rundown on who you are, what you do?
Certainly, yeah. So my name is Mitch Bram. I'm from Middleton, Wisconsin originally, and my folks are still here in Middleton, Wisconsin as well. My wife, Megan, is actually from Cedarburg, Wisconsin. But anyway, yeah, so from around the area, kind of humble beginnings, I guess, all the way through elementary,
Born in a manger.
middle, yeah, kind of, yeah, right, yeah, no, not quite that humble, yeah, geez, yeah, wow, that'd be very, yeah. But no, I grew up around the area though, skipped the college experience, actually,
Okay.
went into sales. I was working at the time at Marshall Fields and had an opportunity to go into clothing sales, and so it was one of those things like got into colleges and like, should I go, should I not, and decided not to.
So what happened
Decided
out
to
of
take
high school?
yeah, so out of high school, I was working at S&K Menswear, and S&K Menswear is no longer around, but kind of like your, 2 for 400, 2 for 500 suit sort of a place. And I'd worked there through high school. So I was
Okay.
actually in the internship program through our business classes and through Middleton High School. And I was there working as a salesman initially, and then kind of moved up into sales management. Actually, by the time I was senior in high school. Anyway, and I literally was kind of working up through the ranks and was working over there at the time. And then when I left high school, I was still working at S&K. We had a new manager come in. He and I didn't quite see eye to eye. So I ended up parting ways with S&K, went over to Marshall Fields, followed my other previous general manager over to
Yeah.
Marshall Fields, and worked over there. And I was actually helping out a gal get some stuff for her boyfriend. And she's like, you know what, my dad's got this guy. He like comes over to the house and, he basically sells him custom made clothes. And like, it's kind of like
Yeah.
his own business. Like, would you be interested in something like that? And from a young age, I'd always thought it was kind of cool, like own your own business if you could. And we didn't grow up with a ton of money necessarily.
Yeah.
So it was like, if you wanted nicer stuff than what you got, and like I love my parents, they're amazing and they did an
Yeah.
awesome job, but they were kind of like, hey, like, here's what you get, and you get your Payless shoes each year, and we're going to be shopping at Walmart, and that's the way things are going to go, and
Yeah.
if you want something better, you go out and you make it happen, you get a paper route, which I did, or you go out and you babysit.
So when'd you get your first job?
First job was, first technical job, I guess, was 14 years old or 14 and a half when I get my first work permit. And that was when I was working over at the hardware store. But before that, mowing lawns, that was a big thing, right? Like I said, paper out, that sort of a deal. But in the actual, sort of business sense, yeah, when I was about 14 and a half working at the local hardware store. But I had sold Beanie Babies through, middle school and everything, as, buying $5 sacks of beans basically and flipping them for $250 the next day. And, all my friends
kidding.
just love that. They were like, oh, hey, $50 for this? Yeah, sure, no problem. Here you go, $50. I can flip the thing a couple days later. So having all sorts of jobs. Yeah. So hardware store, and I'm sorry, hardware store was secondary. Actually, it was the Halloween store, which actually got me big into Halloween. So that was my first official job without even having a work permit. Halloween Express. Thanks, Halloween Express. At the mall, but it was just a great time, and I loved Halloween as a kid and everything. So so I worked over there at my first job, and then hardware store, and then Boston store, I think, was after that, I believe. Yeah, pretty sure it was Boston store, and then from Boston store to S&K, and S&K over to Marshall Fields, and then Marshall Fields actually got purchased by Macy's at the time that I was there.
Oh, wow.
And then I left Macy's in order to be able to go work at Tom James Company, which is my more recent clothing company, I guess, if you would, before I started this. And in between the two, I was actually in healthcare for about a year and a half.
Healthcare?
Yeah, healthcare, of all things. And I thought that I would do really, really well with healthcare because I'm like, hey, much like yourself,
Yeah.
right? Like, we're good sales guys. Like, this is going to be fine. You know what I mean? Like, I can sell ice to an Eskimo. It turned out that just the end user was not in contact with me a lot of times with that because I was selling a lot of like diabetic supplies, a lot of like glucometers and negative pressure wound therapy vacs and beds and things of that nature to mainly skilled nursing homes and also assisted livings. I didn't really get a chance to kind of get like that rush, you know what I mean? Like that energy from my client at the end of the day. And also, to be fair, a lot of them are older people. So,
of course.
they're like, okay, great. You got my diabetic testing strips and my glucometer and my, my Lancets from you. Awesome. So that wasn't quite a rewarding experience to me. So I did that for about a year or so, just over a year. And then there were some layoffs. I was part of it. It was myself and 4 other people. But anyway, doesn't matter. It actually led me to doing what I do now. And so I started up this company officially in 2012. And
Nice.
it's called Fine Line Custom Attire. So here we are today.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had met you at, we were talking before this, before we started recording. I had met you 2.5 years ago.
That's right.
Was it 2.5?
I think, yeah, at least, yeah. Well, because it was October, you said, was
Yeah,
the
October.
second one that we missed going to the last one. So
2021 or 2022, right?
I think it was 2022 or 2023. No, it was probably 2022. You're right about that. Yeah, so call it 2.5 years.
Yeah, 2.5 years.
Yeah. So,
Damn.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, very, very happy accident, though, too.
Yeah,
That's great.
Yeah,
I
I
glad to get
remember
your call.
talking with you, and it was like, you were an energetic dude, and everybody else
Thank you.
there, to put it in perspective, I'm not going to say, did we say the name of the event? I don't think we
Yeah,
did.
we can't. I mean, I don't know. We didn't actually say it. We could.
Well, I think, there were a lot of people there. A lot of the booths there are marketing firms and things that I think are really trashy places.
Okay.
They outsource to third world countries that
Oh,
I
wow.
don't think do a good job.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you knew that or not.
I did not know that, actually. No, I did not.
That
but
and
yeah.
insurance companies at
Really?
the place. Oh, yeah, that was the
Interesting.
majority of it.
Okay.
But yeah, you were one of the only guys there. I'm like, he's actually a good dude.
We actually probably stuck out a little bit, though, too, to be fair, because, inside of that seminar or that
Mm-hmm.
conference that we were actually at, we were probably one of the only ones doing custom-made clothing, I would imagine.
Oh,
right?
you were. And it was,
So, yeah.
you were dressed in like some funky suit. I should call it just funky for my
No,
taste.
no, you're right.
but-
Absolutely, yeah. And that drew people in. We actually still have a gentleman and
Really?
actually the woman that he works with down in Chicago. They remember us from that event. Those are the two we picked up for clients of ours. And that was the first thing they said too, like, oh my God, like I loved you guys and your suits right away. Like they were so like poppy and fun. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
just like basic boring, like it always usually is. So
Well,
anyway,
yeah,
so I
everybody's
appreciate
standing
that.
around, and no, I
Yeah.
thought that was cool because then,
Thanks.
yeah, we ended up talking audio equipment, but
That's right.
I
Yes.
did get like a bag of like stuff that you're walking around with, business
Yep.
cards and things,
For sure.
and I remember talking to you, and I'm like,
Yeah.
And I remember when I started a podcast, I had put together a list of people. I'm like, here's who I want to have on because I thought they were
Thanks.
good stories because we had talked about some of your stuff way back.
Yep.
And I'm like, man, I don't remember who the hell this guy was. I don't remember the name of his business.
I didn't give you like a stress ball or something like that?
No,
or
I
like
had
some
your
sort
bit-
of a weird little widget to take away that
So
day?
funny enough, I remember when I moved down to Indiana, I had like a box of just pens and miscellaneous
Sure.
stuff from the thing.
Yeah, stuff you picked
And
up.
it was like business cards in there. So I knew I had it. And I remember it sitting on my windowsill
That's
when
so
I was in
crazy,
Indiana.
dude. Wow.
Exactly. I found it
That's
one day.
amazing that you actually remember that it was sitting on your windowsill. And you're like, oh yeah, I remember which
I
bag
just like
that
I was like I was too
went
lazy to
into.
move it, and I'm like okay. So then I finally moved back, and I started the podcast. And like, well, shucks.
Yeah,
Where the hell did this go again?
you're like
And
the same as me when it comes down to too. Yeah, you said too lazy or to move a business card away from a windowsill. It's like we do the same thing though, right? It's like you're like,
Exactly.
Oh, no, I have my piles everywhere. I know where things are.
Oh, totally. It's just like this
sorry
organizational
to interrupt.
heap. No, you're good.
Yeah, right on. It's so true. Yeah, but it's there.
Yeah.
we know where it is.
Oh, completely. And yeah, as soon as
We
I
know
got
where
it,
it
I was
is.
like, man, I don't know what happened.
Sure.
And then I was looking in something because I'm like, okay, I got to find something or other.
Yeah.
And sure as
And then
heck,
sure as heck,
your business card's right there
I'll be
with
dipped.
your business partners. And I'm
That's
like,
so awesome.
okay, I'm gonna give you a
Love
call.
that. Well, I'm glad
Yeah.
that you did, though. No, it was really great being able to catch up with you that way. So no,
Yeah,
it
you
was
too.
excellent, man, for sure. One, you've obviously gone down a different track since I last talked to you. So this is
Yeah,
great.
it's been a journey.
Yeah, I would say so. No, this is awesome. Very exciting stuff.
Yeah, you bet. So I want to jump in
Yeah.
right before we get into like a lot of because I think you're a hell of a salesman. I think you're good at what you do.
Thank you.
And I mean, there's a
Appreciate
lot
that.
of tactics and techniques that you do that I notice that most people wouldn't. That I
Okay.
think are really cool. But I kind of want to jump back in. So Tom James, you worked for them.
Yeah,
We had talked
absolutely.
about this way back 2.5 years ago.
Sure.
But basically, how did you leave the place where you were working in the clothing industry to start your own? Because I know there's a story there.
Yeah,
I wanna hear this.
absolutely. Yeah, no, there's definitely a story there for sure. The reason that I left, I think a lot of people, right, are like they just assume it's like, oh no, like Mitch hates Tom James Company. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, not the case. It's totally not the
And I
case.
guess before
to
we
be
jump into
honest.
it, who
Yeah.
is Tom James? What is it?
Good question. So Tom James Company, actually, they started in 1966, and I
Mm-hmm.
believe they were in Tennessee, I think, when they started. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
but they've been around forever and a day, and they've really done a great job, I think, of really sort of, what's the best way to kind of put this? Vertically integrating, I think, is the way they actually
Mm-hmm.
kind of put it themselves in terms of all the different factories and the clothing that they actually offer. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
they've got a pant factory, here in, Franklin, Tennessee, and then they've got, a shirt manufactory that's, in Perth Amboy,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
New Jersey, and they've got all this. So anyway, so they've got all these little things kind of set up for themselves. So they've done a great job with all of that, and they've really done a great job too with their training process as
Yeah.
well. So sort of akin, I would say, to maybe like your enterprise rent a company, enterprise rent a car, Northwestern Mutual, right? Like
Yeah.
a couple of really big powerhouse like kind of training companies out there. So when I first started working there, I was the youngest hire in their history. I was 18 and a half years old at the time. And I didn't really quite realize that, I guess, until I got hired on. But normally they were hiring kids out of grad school. So definitely a new experience for me. It certainly was a situation where I faked it until I made it. There's no doubt about that. When you first go in, I mean, we're talking everything between like SPQ Gold and, all these different personality sorts of testing, devices. Suffice it to say, I did not know how to do direct sales to save my life. I mean, I was always a retail guy, right? And I think that it's good and bad. As cool as retail can be, excuse me, about, having people come to you and establishing a relationship that way and having some really cool stuff, that's in stock in terms of your inventory to be able to show people on a regular basis. It's great and all, but then there's also the drawback of like, well, the scheduling and having to be in the office between 8 a.m. or 10 a.m. and 9 p.m. and having to be on, mall hours and all this. And I'd kind of had enough of doing that. So the Tom James method really was like, hey, no, we're going to skip all of that and we're going to go out and see people at their homes and their offices and we're going to build a clientele, but it's all direct sales. And like, that sounded really, really appealing to me. And it really was kind of like your own business in a sense, right? So now, provided when you leave, you find out quickly that it's not exactly your own business the way it's sort of, mentioned to you, but I digress. So nevertheless, but not a bad company though in that regard. They make a good quality product overall. I would say much like anything, it really comes down to who you're working with, how they're able to interpret, right? Like what are your measurements? What is your best style on someone, right? So there's all these little factors. And so when I left, I was there in 2004 is when I started. And that was like literally, right out of high school. I think I graduated in May of that year and didn't really know exactly what I was going to do. And it just so happened that I bumped into, a girl who came in and was like, hey, this sounds like something that you might be into, and made the introduction. And then I got hired on. So worked there from 2004 until 2010. As you might recall, and you're younger buck than I am, which is a good thing, mind you. I say that in a good way. But if you remember the housing market crisis in 2007, late and then early 2008 and everything else that kind of ensued, we lost a major, major amount of our business, quite literally almost overnight. I mean, it was probably 65 to 70% of our clients, and our business went out the door. So, and it was just really tough, right? I mean, like I had spent, and I started the hard way. I mean, it wasn't like I had a lot of people. I mean, I remember the first day when I was there, my boss was like, all right, so he's like, we're going to go through your phone or like your Rolodex or whatever you got and like come up with people that you think, wear suits and write them down on a piece of paper. So I did so. And I came up with like, I don't know, 12 names, 15 names maybe. And this is from all my experiences, right? And he's like, okay, now we're going to call them. Like, okay, and do what? He's like, well, you're going to try to convince them that they should buy some custom made clothes from you, and we're going to try to get them on the schedule. Like, all right. So I did so. I think I scheduled 2 appointments off of that, maybe, and I think the rest of them were like either they didn't pick up or no, I'm good. I'm not spending money on custom made clothes or on your stuff. It's too expensive. Whatever
2 out of 12 is not bad.
Yeah, I agree. It wasn't too bad. It's right, and people probably just had pity on me, right? They're like, oh, okay, yeah, sure thing, Mitch. I'll meet up with you and your boss.
This time?
I was 18 and a half years old, so yeah, like literally
right
just out of high school. Yeah, right when I started, and I'm like, okay, so we got those appointments set, and just left a couple voicemails, and I'm like, well, now what? He's like, well, it's like, hands me the phone book. He's like, you can like close your eyes and like point at a name. He's like, I can get you like a dart or something. You can like throw a dart at it. Like, I don't care. He's like, but figure it out. Like, okay, figure it out, huh? And he's like, yep. It's like business directory's over there. Like, figure it out. And he's like, you're a West Side guy. So, my suggestion, start in one place. And he's like, work in a circle or do whatever you got to do. But he's like, figure it out. Like, this is your deal. So that's what I did. So like literally I started researching. I mean, this is back, you gotta remember, this is 2004. So, I mean, this is like, the internet is a thing, sure, but it's not as much of a thing as it is now. And this isn't just as simple as like, oh, okay, type it into the Goog Monster and here it is. So a lot of it was like trying to do research on like local companies and who owns those companies and going after business owners and trying the whole top down sort of an approach. But at the time I didn't know anything about anything, right? So like I literally just went door to door to door, basically inside of the, West Side Madison, because that was my territory. And it doesn't matter if it's a business park, if it was an industrial park, like I'd walk in my 2-piece or 3-piece suit and like, hey, how are you? My name is Mitch. Like I work for Tom James Company and I sell custom made clothes. Like, anybody here getting dressed up, like, yeah. And so that's the way I started. And it took a good, I would say close to 2 years to be able to establish something solid. You know what I mean? Where I could say like, yep, I'm doing pretty good. And by 3 years in, right? So literally by right about the time where the whole world went to hell in a handbasket for the first time, at least that I could remember, and personally experience, that was about the time I really started kind of hitting my stride and doing well and really enjoying myself and enjoying, the fruits of my labor. Right. And so that would have been early to middle 2007, basically. So so it was a heck of a thing when it all got ripped away.
How'd you deal with that when it just, you get yourself to a good place. You're like, okay, I'm the youngest guy in this company. I'm kicking some ass. And then it just totally, boom.
And that was it. And so, you deal with it as much as you possibly can, right? You're like, no, you convince yourself, like, okay, this is going to pop back. We're going to snap back. It's going to take maybe a year. You know what I mean? Maybe, and it'll be back. Year goes by. No, maybe it'll take one more year. Another year goes by. Nope, still not the case. And so literally by 2010, early 2010, I was like, I can't. You know what I mean? And, and it wasn't so much that it was like, oh, my boss, the company. It wasn't so much just that. I mean, and don't get me wrong, like there's always grievances, you know what I mean? You can have right against someone or whatever the case may be. But like between the economy, between having bills to pay, it was difficult. You know what I mean? So like I had to do something to me that I was like, okay, I can do this and I can be guaranteed some sort of a salary. And that's what I did with, going into the whole world of medical, if you would, or into like the assisted living and like the skilled nursing, sort of side of things. So that was really, between that and like I said, a couple other factors, that's really the reason why I made the leap. And it was tough though, man. It really, really was because,
So what was the process to leave?
Well,
if you want to jump into that, because I know there's a little bit of a story.
Yeah, a little bit. The process to leave was, I guess I could tell my boss about it and I could be like, hey, like this is what I'm going to do. And I feel like I need to go somewhere else and whatever. I did not want to go that route. I just knew it was not going to go over well. And so I was nice about it. We had a 2-year non-compete was the other thing. And so I was very, very well aware of that. But at the same time, I also was aware that I wasn't going into clothes. So I wasn't going into that. I mean, it was so ambiguous the way that the actual non-compete was written that like literally I couldn't go to Victoria's Secret and sell bras and panties to women. Like, can't do it. Like, not allowed to do so.
You're lucky it was in Wisconsin.
This is true. Very, very true. And I did talk to a lot of my clients after leaving, and they're like, and this is only after the fact that I worked for the medical company for about just over a year and then ended up getting let go, that I was like, well, now what do I do? You know what I mean? And so that's when I started going down the road of like, well, would I want to go back into clothes? Because that really was rewarding to me. You know what I mean? And on an energetic level, on a personal level, everything. It was just very, very rewarding. And so when I decided to do that, that's exactly the feedback I got. It was like, well, you've already been gone for over a year and like you're in Wisconsin and, it's a right to work state and do this and do that. And it's not going to be a problem. Like, well, I don't know if I want to go down that road because I don't want to get sued. I mean, when I started this whole thing, so when I left TJ, like I literally left a note on my boss's desk with my keys, with like all my files still there. Like I wasn't stealing files, wasn't stealing nothing. Kidding. I'm like, dude, like I didn't think I was going back into clothing. Honest to God. Like I really did not. I was like, nope, like I'm stepping away from this. I'm trying something different. As much fun as this was, I gave it my all. Things have not gotten better. You know what I mean? Like in the market, it's just, this is really, really tough. And so I left a nice note and I walked away. And I got some feedback, not from my boss directly, but from his boss and everything and other people. And I've got a lot of animosity coming toward me for sure.
Oh no.
But I don't take it personally. I'm like, dude, it was just a decision. You know what I mean? You guys can be mad about it if you want to. Now, since I've started my own company, I've gotten even more animosity, of course. So it was bad in the first place.
So what happened when you opened the place?
So when I opened the place, I would say, no one really knew about me at first, but then when I started trying to kind of make some inroads and everything, then that's when I started definitely getting some hate without question. So there was some, not hate mail, but hate text messages and, things of that nature. People, suffice it to say that people know that I'm operating and people know who I am, and I've sort of become a pariah to the Tom James community. I think and again, not trying to do that in any way, shape, or form, like not my intent, but just kind of is what it is, you know? And to me, I guess I always look at it like, and there was something that was actually kind of drilled into our heads when I worked at Tom James, like the pie is plenty big for everybody. You know what I mean? Like we had literally at one point, we had 3 of us selling in Madison. The leaders at the time were like, oh, they'd come to town and they're like, Madison's huge. Like you guys could have 5 more people selling here, no problem. And you guys still wouldn't be able to capture all the business.
No kidding.
I don't know if I think there's enough business for 8 people at Tom James inside of Madison, Wisconsin, but that's another story. So nevertheless, I think there's plenty to go around though, to be fair. And the other thing that's different as well is the fact that I used to be relegated to West Side Madison. So when I would get a referral, I was West Side Madison guy. If they resided inside of West Side of town, I could take that referral. If not, I had to hand that off to either my colleague or my other colleague, and I got nothing for it. It does, and what really sucks too is the fact that when you don't get anything for it, and you really don't get anything back at all. Like it's like, you know, you'd like to think it's good karma and that you're going to get good karma paid back your way at some point, and you don't. Or if I'm handing off referrals to Milwaukee and I'm told no, I'm not allowed to go there because I'm West Side Madison guy, they'll give me referrals to people that get in Madison. You never see them. So that sort of hurt me a little bit, but now it's like it doesn't matter because like literally the world is my oyster, right? Like I'm nationwide, and it's funny now because I see clients that I've actually worked with, you know, or I shouldn't say I had worked with, should I say, back in the day up until 2010 when I left, and they'll see me and they're like, what are you doing now? Like I haven't seen you around, like what's happening? And I'm like, I'm still selling custom made clothes, you know, and I just started my own company, and they're like, wait, what? You know, I'm like, well, yeah. And they're like, well, why haven't you called me? I'm like, I don't know. Like, why haven't you called me? You know, I'm like, I called you a long time ago, and I let you, know when I first started my whole thing after my 2-year non-compete. Like, I let you know I was going to do that. And like, I haven't heard from you. And like, well, would you call me? Would you? I'm like, well, yeah, sure, I will. But I'm like, but I stay busy. You know what I mean? Yeah. I stay busy with plenty of other people. Knock on wood. Thank God. You know what I mean? So,
of course.
Yeah. So it's a good thing.
The non-compete, though, I think it's kind of cool. Not to jump too much into politics.
No, you're fine.
But
go ahead.
I mean, you look at, I was actually a fan that the Trump administration got rid of the non-competes because I remember coming out of my job, I was looking at the same thing. It was a 2-year non-compete.
Sure.
The cool thing about yours is in Wisconsin, there's a handful of states that have, I believe it's called a blue pencil.
Okay.
Have you heard of this?
I've not, no.
I believe it's blue pencil. But it basically says that if it says that a contract, that if it's totally unreasonable. Okay. Like let's say that 2-year non-competes within a 200-mile radius of that location, and you can't walk into a JCPenney's and all this other stuff.
Oh, okay.
That means that the blue pencil laws mean that they can modify them. But in Wisconsin, I believe, regardless, Wisconsin has it set up that you can get rid of a non-compete in that event. Oh. So basically, if there's something that's unreasonable in it, they throw out the whole contract.
Oh, really?
Other states will modify them, but Wisconsin says, okay, so you can't wear a bra in JCPenney's or something. Like, then it'll be like, okay, you're out.
Got you. Okay.
So
that it's almost so ambiguous to your point, essentially, that it's like, okay, like that it's so like non-enforceable by the fact it's ambiguous. Yeah, it's ambiguities.
Pretty much, but they can't modify it. So if they were to take you to court over it, you're like, well, you guys have this clause in there that states that it's super unreasonable. I can't wear shorts or something.
Okay, I got you.
See ya. Sure. Instead of enforcing it, they just throw it all out.
Huh, interesting.
But fortunately, now they don't. Oh yeah, now that they don't have non-competes.
Sure. Yeah.
There's no excuses.
Yeah, there's no excuses.
Unless you're a CEO or a COO or a CFO or some kind of big position like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and this is a call then in that case, anybody at Tom James who really wants to go ahead and follow their dreams and start their own business, then in that case, like, hey, you guys and gals have
come on over to Fine Line.
Or come on over to Fine Line. That's right. I'd love to have you. Seriously. Yeah, that's right. I'd love to have you at Fine Line.
Yeah.
Anyway,
there you go.
But yes, there we are. Anyway, but no. So, but yeah, so that's kind of the backstory on that one. So
no kidding. So what was it like starting up your own business?
It was definitely challenging without a doubt. So my wife was very, very supportive. We were dating at the time, and she actually worked for an attorney firm at the time, and it was a good job. And she was like, hey, you know what? If this is something that you really want to do, like I'll help support you through it. Okay, cool. So we started down the path. I did not know where to go. I had no idea like who my manufacturer is going to be, who my suppliers, who my mill was going to be, like any of that. I had a little bit of knowledge of like Holland and Sherry, and Holland and Sherry is a mill specifically out of Scotland. They make fabric. That's all they do. And so then we would contract through Holland and Sherry in order to be able to make things. And so they're actually owned by basically part of the umbrella corp that actually owns Tom James owns Holland and Sherry as well. So it's part of their vertical integration. So I knew of Holland and Sherry. I loved Holland and Sherry fabrics. A lot of really cool, interesting looking cloths and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I knew about them, but beyond them, I really didn't know where to go. And I knew about Tom James and the fact that they would allow people to do a wholesale as well. And so now that I waited out my non-compete, I'm like, okay, I'll reach out to them for wholesale. Well, I figured out pretty quickly, even though I signed up with them, that I could sell their product. I would have probably had to retail product for $100 to $200 more per suit in order to be able to even be somewhat like competitive / like profitable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I shouldn't say competitive because I would not have been competitive at all because it would have been the same product and the same fit and everything else that I was used to, which would have been easy on me, but it wouldn't allow me to do what I wanted to do. And so I signed up with them, but I really only did a couple of sales that way. And then Holland and Sherry, I reached out to my contacts there. I got them in line too to say, hey, you know, when I do actually find who I'm going to do manufacturing with, yes, you will support me and everything. So that was great. And so it really became sort of like a trial and error process. I went online, I went to Alibaba, you know, I'm sure you guys, AliExpress, right? But Alibaba was a big thing before AliExpress was a thing. MadeInChina.com was a big one. I actually reached out before even that to different clients that I had over the years who were in the military, and they're like, oh, I got this amazing suit in Thailand, or oh, I got this guy over in, you know, Bangladesh and whatever. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I reached out to several of them. I actually worked with one of the gentlemen out of Thailand for a little while. Chan was his name, and he did a good job, I would say, like decent quality, not amazing, but not bad quality stuff. The problem was the fact that he was working for a company and he was just pretty much selling me things at retail or slightly less than what retail was. And then he left there within about 6 months or so of doing that to start his own company, and then was trying to charge more money than what even they were. No. And I'm like, Chan, I'm like, come on, man. I'm like, this is a wholesale deal that we're doing here, buddy. Like, you don't have to worry about, you know, doing the design or anything else and doing measures. Like, I'm doing all that for you. Like, I got it. And it just didn't really work out. So I worked with him for a little while out of Thailand. We had tried another company actually in mainland China. And
just to clarify, where are the majority of suits made?
So the majority of suits in the world you're asking, I probably couldn't even answer that question because there's so many now, I would say. I mean, it used to be that the U.S. had a big manufacturing presence, right? We really, truly did. Now, I tried at one point to do stuff in the U.S. The issue with the United States is the fact that it's a lot of times, until maybe here in the near future, a lot of older machines, a lot of older practices for things, which it can be good and can be bad. Yeah. A lot of times, though, you find more of a boxy sort of a cut overall to the look of the jackets, especially, as well as the pants. Yeah. And so because they're an older style and an older cut like that, it's not the most flattering on everybody necessarily, and it's not what people are really like looking for. Yeah. So I found through my travels that I guess Asia was a really, really good spot to be able to do so. But Mexico is coming online now. Mexico's doing a lot of manufacturing. I believe Turkey's doing some things. There's some stuff going on. I believe in oh my gosh, what was that? I think Vietnam's doing some stuff now too in a couple of different small countries. But
yeah, because I know some people, I mean, the made in China thing, that's one thing when it comes to the suit industry, at least from my perspective and from what I know from the guys that I talk to. Yep. It's just the way it is. A lot. I mean, you can buy a $3,000 suit and it can be made over there. Yep. It's just the way it is. It's not something like you're trying to skimp out. Right. It's the way the industry is.
Correct. Yeah, I would agree. And I think that there's also, fair to say, a difference between like Hong Kong product, mainland China product, China as a whole. I mean, China's huge, right? Yeah. So there's all sorts of different like levels when it comes down to detail, quality, whatever you want to say about manufacturing in China. But you're exactly right. There's a lot of people that do a lot of, made in China product. And the problem is too, is the lines have become blurred. So it used to be that there was like ready-made, right? And so like off the peg, off the shelf, like when you walk into a men's warehouse, a Jose Banks, whatever it may be, and you're going to grab something off the shelf. That was off the peg. Then there's there's made to measure, right? Made to measure used to be that they would take something that was existing at a factory, it was a size 42 regular, a 44 long, or whatever it may have been, and then they would make it not make it, but they would alter it if you would. They'd custom, alter it to your measurements in a way. So I go in, say I'm a 40, short or a 40 regular. Okay, the sleeves are a half inch too long. The sleeves are unfinished at the factory. They'll go and they'll shorten up the sleeve at the factory. The pants, the waist that normally comes the 40 is going to be a 34 because it's a standard 6-inch drop. Unless you're buying an athletic, then it's an 8. But anyway, so it's going to be a 34. Well, say I'm a 35. That means I have to let the pants out an inch for you at the factory. And then I'm a short little dude, so I'm a 28.25-inch inseam. That means they have to go and they have to shorten the pants. Well, they do all that at the factory. And then they were at one point in time even going going as so far as to put on like different buttons for you and even finishing sleeves that way, okay, and doing different, functional buttonholes for a surgeon cuff. And then they'd ship it off and they'd be like, yeah, this is a custom made suit. Well, in actuality, it was just made to your measure of sorts, or it was just customized to your measurement. Well, then there was true custom, all right? And custom was literally like, hey, we're going to lay down the actual fabric and we're going to chalk this thing and we're going to cut it and we're going to make it for you just the way you want it to be, which is what we do, okay? That's what we do nowadays over here at Fine Line. We don't do a true bespoke, okay? So I know a lot of people are like, oh, bespoke, it's a bespoke suit. It's not a bespoke suit. A bespoke suit truly would require someone who really knows their stuff, a master tailor, to be able to literally do everything by hand and do multiple fittings with you. So meet you in person, take all of the measurements, lay out the fabric, hand chalk everything, hand cut everything, make up a basted fitting. A basted fitting is basically where it's going to have all the basting on the inside showing, and it's also going to have like no sleeve on it, or basically no two sleeves. They're going to check it. They're going to look at the armhole and the depth, and they're going to go and measure that all out for you. And then you're going to go and hand it back to them. You're going to come back again in probably 4 to 6 weeks or so. They're going to have a sleeve or two on there. Again, still basting showing. They're going to go and double check again, do a couple more final things, and then they're going to bring you back in for a final fitting. So that's true bespoke, okay? And bespoke really comes from the word bespeak, or to speak for something. So it used to be way back in the day that when you'd call the mill, so say it's Scabal, which is who I've got on today, which I don't know if I have my tag in here, and I think anyway, but whatever. So Scabal or Holland and Sherry or who it may be. It could be Vitali Barbaros Canacchio, or it could be whomever. You know what I mean? When you call your mill and you say, hey, I want that fabric right there. I know you guys have a bolt of it. I want a cut of that fabric. I'm speaking for it, okay? I'm paying for it, I'm speaking for it, okay? So it's bespoken. So the idea is you're going to turn it into something that is made for you, something that is individual to you yourself and your personality. So the word bespoke sort of gets thrown around a lot. You know what I mean? Inside of the industry is like, ooh, they do bespoke suits. Like, in a sense, we do, because your own buttons, your threads, your buttonholes, your pick stitching, your lining, you name it, right? All the fun little stuff. That's a way to customize things.
And the price tag on a bespoke suit?
Yeah, they usually start somewhere around about $5,000 to $7,000. Typically is where they typically start. Now, Savile Row does an amazing job. I've never been to Savile Row. I've seen plenty of videos and have information on it and all that. I know there's other places in the world that do it as well. But true bespoke, typically that $5,000 to $7,000 range, if you're getting a true handmade quality product that way. So now, do we sell those kinds of suits in terms of expense? Absolutely. I mean, I can get you a $100,000 suit if you want to. If you want super 250s, or you want pure vicuña or something like this, absolutely. If you want that,
what's the most expensive suit you've ever sold?
The most expensive suit I've ever sold was, I think, $17,800, give or take, right around there. And that was a 2-piece suit. It was a super 180s, I believe, with... I think it was mink, I believe. I think it was mink. I'm pretty sure it was mink. So silver mink. It was silver mink with super 180s. I think it was a Holland and Sherry fabric. But so it was a gentleman actually, and it was his daughter's wedding, and it was his only child, and
he was going all out.
He spent more on the wedding suit than what he did on his daughter's dress, which she's like, don't tell anyone, and I won't. I'll leave him nameless. But yes, I'm like, hey, no problem, mate. Your secret's safe with me for sure. But great guy though, for sure. So so that's probably the most expensive. But you'll have clients, though, from time to time that will kind of surprise you. I had one guy that for his wedding, he decided he wanted 2 suits, both of which were 3-piece, and he spent close to $30,000 on the 2 suits. You know what I mean? And,
so what's in that suit that makes it that expensive?
Great question. It's not so much like what's in it necessarily, but like what kind of a fabric is probably what you're asking, right? It's a very, very luxurious fabric,
unless there's like diamonds in there or something like that.
And they do that too. That's actually, it's funny you actually say that, because they do that. So there's diamond.
Gotta be kidding.
No, they've got diamond. They've got ones you can literally have gold inside, so 22 karat gold. So do you remember seeing the Conor McGregor, the FU suit? Do you remember seeing this at all? Conor McGregor had a suit made up for him, and actually it's funny because he approached, or his people, probably wasn't him directly, but his people approached Holland and Sherry, and they also approached Scabal, which are 2 of my main manufacturers or my mills that I utilize. And they said, hey, could we, make this fabric for us? Well, the fabric was, I forget which color, if it was navy or black, but suit, pinstripe, and in the pinstripes, about a size 4 font, maybe a 5 or 6 font or so, like on your computer, keyboard. So inside of that font, you can have whatever you want. So he decided to put FU, 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 but the actual word in there, repeating over and over and over again, because when you're in
kidding.
business, right? And you want a power suit, everyone refers to like, hey, I want like that FU
Yeah.
suit. You know, like I walk in the room and I command the room and everyone knows like I'm the
Just
big
swinging.
Yeah,
exactly.
You know.
Yeah.
And so he wanted that suit. Well, both Holland and Sherry and Scabal turned him down. They're like, nope, we're not going to manufacture that for you. Like, because normally it takes, I think, about 40 weeks, I want to say, 40 or 42 weeks to be able to manufacture an individual cloth. So there's minimums. I think price-wise on a standard suit, like a standard 3-piece, I think 3-piece is probably the way to go because I think it's a minimum about 7 yards. Anyway, I digress. The point is, it's probably around about $25,000 for a standard suit like that to be able to be made up if you actually want it done properly, handmade. $25,000 if you want to go, the full Monty on the entire thing. Now, so pretty wild stuff for sure. But anyway, so to answer your question, yes, they do diamonds. So I know I think that, I don't know if Holland and Sherry ever did one. I know that there's Treasure Box. I know that there's also a Diamond Chip from Scabal, for example. There's, Peridot. There is, which is another precious stone. There's Lapis Lazuli or Luazi or whatever it is. I think it's Lazuli. So that's like kind of a bluish, kind of like a colored stone they'll do. They'll do emerald. They'll do all sorts of different crazy things, that way where they'll literally crush up the stuff.
Like inside the fabric.
They'll put it right inside of the actual fabric where you get like glimmers of it and everything.
Could you imagine just like catching it on like
just
table or something?
A little shimmer, or catching it. Yeah, and that's what I always say too. I'm like, you better damn well trust your dry cleaner because if you don't, you know what I mean? Like that thing might walk.
Or just sitting there like just shaving it off.
or that. Oh, this is weird. It's a weird little spot. Oh my God, what did I do? So anyway, there are some crazy things out there for sure. So those suits definitely command a higher price tag. But and we offer them, but not normally do we sell stuff like that.
I was gonna say, like what's a normal suit for somebody though? Like somebody, because I mean, the first step you go to Men's Warehouse, you go to Suit Supply. The next step up from that
is I would say like that $1,200 to $1,500 range. You know what I mean? Or the $12,000 to $2,000 range probably is kind of the next jump, right? Because when you're at Men's Warehouse, you're buying something off the peg. It's probably $400 to $700 maybe. Yeah. If you're buying Suit Supply, maybe it's $7 to $900 to $1,000 somewhere in there. When you get into custom made stuff, like our stuff starts at about $1,000. You know what I mean? For a 2-piece suit, jacket and pant, and then the vest adds in a little bit extra if you want to do a 3-piece. But nevertheless, so they kind of start there. I would tell you that most of our guys, at least in like the Midwest, when I travel around this area, spend somewhere in between, I'd say like that $1,200-$1,500 on up to maybe at the most on a suit about $4,000. You know what I mean? That's a pretty good running average for around this area. If you want to go a little more fancy schmancy, you can spend $4,500, $5,000 to $7,000, $8,000. Sure. And like I said, there are anomalistic sort of scenarios that pop up where someone really wants something special. So, absolutely.
So let me ask you, because I know everybody or at least men, they all talk about custom suits. I've had people in the last 2 weeks since I said, hey, I'm going to have this guy on my podcast.
Yeah.
I've had anybody from my high school teacher over to a successful lawyer that have kind of talked to me. And at what point do you recommend getting a custom suit? Like at what point, or I guess it'd be made to measure.
Yeah.
At what point do you kind of pull the trigger on that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that if you're able to find something that you really truly enjoy off the shelf and you're an easy enough fit, more power to you. You know what I mean? I think that the desire, is really where it kind of comes in, right? The desire to look a certain way, to know that the balance and the fit and to have the confidence when you're wearing a piece that it's like body armor, right? Like you walk into that room and and it's not being brash. It's not like it's not a cockiness thing. I think it's more of like a knowingness, I think, more than anything.
It's a confidence thing.
It is a confidence thing, is right. It's like when you're a good salesperson and you just like, you're not worried about talking to whomever. You're like, hey, that, person over there is a billionaire. Like, go talk to him. Okay. Like, doesn't scare me. Like, and so it's that kind of just knowing yourself, knowing who you are. If you would like to have that experience, I think that is a great time to be able to look at, hey, let's get something that's nice, that's custom made for me.
And I'd have to say, too,
you know what I mean?
I think that the fit, that's one thing that I'm not sure about. I know how you feel about this, but I think when it fits good, there's less that you think about or overthink. Because if you're if you go down to St. Vinny's, if you're getting started, go grab a suit from St. Vinny's.
Of course.
But basically, I don't know, when you get custom, you can tell when something fits and you walk in and you're just like, there's less, you're not really inside your own head anymore. Because I know that's one of the things with sales is you put yourself in situations that you don't want to be in.
Right.
Like your body's screaming, get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
oh yeah,
okay, smiling through
you're
it.
exactly right.
Because I know I've been in situations like I was at the, I won't say the event.
That's
name,
okay.
drop
It's
it.
fine. You're all right.
But I was at a prestigious event recently in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And we were gonna leave, but we ended up going into the hotel because it was inside the security perimeter.
Sure.
Because we couldn't leave.
Yeah.
Because everybody else was leaving of different calibers and sorts. If that rings a bell.
Does.
So
Yes.
at this event,
Okay.
we go inside. We're grabbing some dinner. It's 11 o'clock at night. Go upstairs, eat dinner. 11th floor of the hotel.
Okay.
And I walk into the bar, and it's like, millionaires don't bother me. Like, I've met a variety of them. I used to work with a lot of them.
Yeah.
Still do.
Sure.
When you talk about billionaires, it's like, the air just changes. And it's not like a money thing. It's just like there's like a confidence to it, and there's other things. And I think when you get a custom suit, I don't think you're going to be a billionaire. You might be.
Right.
But I think at the same time, I think it gives you, like, you feel how you look.
Yes.
And if you're dressed
Yes.
like in sweatpants and a baggy t-shirt,
Yep.
you're gonna feel a whole hell of a lot better if you get yourself a good coat.
Yep.
Get some nice jeans or some suit pants.
100% agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, it's almost like a body armor, right? In a sense. And it just helps you hold yourself differently, I feel like overall. And that's why I think it's sort of a shame that, and I know that, during, the pandemic and COVID and everything else, right? Like no one was in the office. And so that was a big, drag on business, of course, and whatever. It's fine. We're getting kind of past this, but now people are going back to offices. And I think it's so sad when offices are like, no, just like dress for your day, or like just be like business casual, or just be casual. People don't hold themselves to a certain standard that they otherwise do when they're dressed properly, and there's just a different mentality that there is. And I don't even know how to explain it. I mean, I've been in this business for 20 plus years or more. I don't know how to explain that. It's just something about it that you're different when you're wearing something that fits you, and you look nice, and you feel that confidence, and you're around other people, and you're just better. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know what it is. So I completely agree with you. Yeah. And so I would just say anyone that's pining for that kind of an experience, or anyone that's like, that would really be kind of cool, and I think it's a really, really unique and exciting experience. We just met with a couple of people the other day, actually on Saturday, which we don't normally do, but for a wedding party, we had like 10 people to be able to see in Milwaukee. And so my business partner, Samantha, and we went over there, and the people that we met up with, they're great people, but they're not normally people who would be wearing suits, right? Like ever. And they're great. They're blue collar, they're down to earth, and like, okay, awesome. But like, they all agreed, and like, I got a couple of text messages from several of them, including the gent who's the groom, and he's like, oh my God, this was so much fun. Like, everybody had such a blast. Like, they were all telling me like how much fun this is. They can't believe they've never done this before. They're like, they just can't wait to see this stuff and see you guys again. I'm like, well, that's awesome. Like, I love to hear that, because like, that's the thing. It's like, it's a really cool, unique experience. And I think that Samantha is my business partner, and I bring that to the table. Yeah. And if she couldn't be here today, I wish she could have been, but it's all good. You can meet her eventually. Yeah. So, and anyone else out there too. So she does women's as well as men's stuff. So in case any, women in your life ever need custom made clothes, we do that as well. But I guess my point is that, just having that, you know what I mean? Like, experience in general, it's so fun, it's so rewarding. And the thing is, I think that I want to try to stress to people too, it's not as crazy expensive maybe as some people maybe think. I mean, we go to a lot of events, like you just mentioned, millionaires, billionaires, things like this. I mean, we go to car shows and jet shows, and people are dropping 50, 30, whatever it may be, million on a jet, right? Like, it just always surprises the heck out of me how many of these people, regardless of how much net worth they have, wherever they're spending, some of them are just the worst dressed people out there. And I'm like, what is happening right now? When you walk into an event like that and you have that kind of money, and maybe it's just that people don't really care, and they're like, you know what, I got to go to this stupid event. I'll throw on a suit from 1990. But when the sleeves are down past, your first or second knuckle, and the jacket is drooping off of your shoulders, and it's just all sorts of schlucky.
Kid on Halloween.
And the shirt, it looks like you're wearing, your dad's outfit, and like the clothing is wearing you. Like, I don't get it, and it's not that it would take that much. And that's what's so funny to me, is that it's like, okay, like, you give me a budget of whatever, you know what I mean? I can't work with a budget of $500, but you tell me like, hey, my budget's $2,000, or hey, my budget's $5,000, or whatever else, like, set me up. Okay, no problem. Like, you'd only need to do that once or twice or 3 times. You're going to be feeling pretty damn good about yourself.
And how long does a suit like that last?
I mean, a long time. I had a guy, to give you an idea, I had a guy literally 6 months ago. So let's just say it was right around the end of 2004. Okay. And granted, a lot of people didn't wear suits during COVID, right, at their office. We were working with a lot of people in fairly conservative areas, I would say that really COVID didn't affect them much. Like they may have been gone for the 14 days to slow the spread or whatever, but they were back working pretty quickly thereafter. And this gentleman is no different. And he's in Iowa, and he just reached out to me, and he's like, here's the deal. He's like, I had these 2 suits from you. It's like, we got these in 2016. At the end of 2016, it was like September of 2016. He's like, they are just now literally starting to get a little bit of shine on like the knees, and I just blew out an elbow in this jacket. And he's like, and I kid you not, I wear these suits at least once, if not twice a week, every single week. And he's like, I've had them since basically the start of 2017. He's like, and this was 6 months ago. So end of 2024.
Can't get that out of Men's Warehouse.
I don't think you can. You know what I mean? And there's something to be said too about taking proper care of things. And I would tell people that, you know, less is more when it comes down to dry cleaning things. I think a lot of people are like, oh man, every time or two that I wear my suit, I got to get it dry cleaned. Like, no. And as much as I love my dry cleaners out there, it's just, you know, take proper care of your items. They'll take
It's a
care
chemical
of you.
bath. It wears out the clothes.
It does. Yeah. I mean, you know the deal. It just, it breaks down everything. I mean,
completely.
I always tell people too on shirts, and this is nothing against dry cleaners at all, go no starch. If you're okay with a shirt that's nice and soft and comfortable, go with no starch, because if you can go, you know, without the starch where it's not building up inside of like that actual fiber, and then you're moving it around and breaking that bond over and over and over again, and then the fabric doesn't become as brittle, you're not going to have as many of like the blowouts on the elbows and the cuffs and every other thing. So
I have yet to meet people that actually like starch.
I know. I agree
because it's one of those things that the difference is like, it just for people that don't know, it's I mean, starch is literally just hardening your clothes a little bit. Correct. It makes it a little bit stiffer.
Yep.
When in all actuality, I haven't met anybody that wants stiff clothes. Everybody wants it free flowing and nice.
I agree. Yeah. Well, especially nowadays, I mean, with the advent of like all like the casual wear, right? And everything's got spandex in it and all, right? So yeah, no doubt about it. But anyway, so that'd just be kind of my suggestion on that one.
So let me ask you. So you get started in the business. How did you go about starting the business and ramping it up? Because I'd say you're pretty damn successful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It wasn't overnight, I can tell you that much. I think that there's a lot of people maybe out there that maybe view it that way, right? Or they're like, oh man, that must be nice to go on
Took 2 weeks and he was making millions.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right. Yeah, I just did this and now look at this guy. It's taken me longer than I expected it would. I'll be honest. You know what I mean? It really has. But I've always been a believer in like, you know, starting slow, starting methodical. Everything that's worth doing, in my opinion, is worth doing right. Is as trite as that sounds. I'm here to tell you that it definitely does work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that it's important, and this is for younger people out there too. When you're presented, and this is something my brother told me, and my older brother, he's my half brother technically, but we never regarded each other that way. He was always like a mentor, if you want to say that. And I don't think he ever knew that necessarily, but he certainly is. And I don't really ever have like a big thing with like a mentor-mentee relationship or have a coach in your life. No, but my older brother is a business owner, and he's very successful, and he's very much a perfectionist. And his whole thing was always like, okay, he's like, when you're presented with your, you know, your fork in the road, right? Like, you know, in your path, especially when you're younger, he's like, you need to do your best to be able to try and pick maybe not the correct path, but you got to pick a path and you got to stay on that path, and you have to at least give it your all for at least a good amount of time. And when I say a good amount of time, I'm not talking like 3 months or 6 months or a year and a half. Like, you got to give it your all, and you really got to put both feet in, and you really got to try. And you got to do it for a while. And like when I started at Tom James, to give you an idea, I had just moved out of my parents' house. I had rent and everything, right, and all this. And I had a couple roommates, a couple buddies of mine. But like I told my folks, because I mean they were like a sounding board, and even my older brother, I'm like, you guys got to hold my feet to the fire on this thing. That like I have to give this a full 2 years, like full 2 years. At the end of full 2 years or 2 full years, if I'm not on the trajectory of where I want to be at or where I'm going, then at that point I can be allowed to think about, maybe I quit, maybe I go somewhere else. But you have to hold my feet to the fire on this. And luckily, and there was a lot of times I wanted to quit. There was a lot of times I wanted to give up. But they held my feet to the fire on that. And you know, to my brother's point, it's like you got to go down a road and you got to stick with something. Because he's like, so many people, and they're presented with that whole thing. They're like, oh, I don't know which way to go. What am I going to do? Well, let's try this way. And then they go down that road for several months or maybe a year, maybe. And they're like, yeah, you know what? I don't think this is really working for me all that well. I'm just going to jump over this other thing. Oh, I heard about this other new gig. And, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get rich quick, or I'm going to do this that way. And so many people now, and people maybe know who I'm talking to when I say this, they don't have a full understanding of exactly what they're doing in an industry, as much as They want to think that they do, and they want to think that like the YouTube videos out there or the quick short videos and whatever, or you jump on any kind of, pick your AI platform, right? Your Grok or your, whatever it may be, right? I mean, you want to chat GPT it and you want to become an expert in something. Let me tell you what, son, you know what I mean? Like it's going to take way more than a couple of weeks or a couple of months of following what chat GPT tells you and what all these other different people have surmised through all their different books that they've written. It's going to take a whole hell of a lot more than that for you to be able to figure out like who you are and what you're doing and how to build something properly and actually have success doing it. Sorry. You know what I mean? Like unabashed, that's the truth in my view. Okay.
No, I agree.
You know what I mean? Like that's 100%. My view. That's my opinion. You know what I mean? But that's just.
But I agree because I look at a lot of these guys that just jump into it and they're like, the biggest gripe I have with a lot of the gurus out there is I think a lot of these guys go to them and they're like, they're like, you got to start a business, quit your job, start a business, you be a man, invest in a Ferrari. And it's like, so these guys go out and they listen to it, and they're like, hey, I'm going to go start a business.
Yeah.
And they say, they do it, they quit their job, they've got a little nest egg in the bank, and they're like, I'm going to do this. Yep. They go back to them like, I quit my job, I'm starting a business. They're like, well, you just got to do it. And it's like, and a lot of these guys have no freaking clue.
Correct. Yes. Agree with you. And I've seen it too many times. Way too many times. And it's just unfortunate because it's like, it's just the same thing as being a bad relationship. Okay. Yeah. It's the same thing in my opinion. Like, and it's something that I probably read at some point. I don't know if it was Covey or whoever wrote it, but it's like when you're in a bad relationship and you know it's a bad relationship, you need to get out of it as soon as humanly possible. You have to have that hard conversation. Yeah. You have to do what you have to do because at the end of the day, staying in that relationship really is robbing from not only you, but robbing from the other person in the worst way possible. Because at the end of the day, all we have is time. You know what I mean? All we have is our health and all we have is time. And I saw a short the other day, which I thought this is actually a very, very good short. And the guy's like, hey, it's like, how about I give you like $1 million? And this kid's like, yeah, well, that sounds great. He's like, actually, screw that. He's like, I'm going to give you $10 million. And this kid's like, dude, yeah, okay, hell yeah. It's like, okay. He's like, one catch. He's like, tomorrow morning you don't wake up. It's like, you still want that $10 million? He's like, well, no. He's like, if I can't wake up tomorrow, I don't want the 10 million. He's like, okay. He's like, and maybe this goes down a religious path. I don't know. He's like, well, we should all be really, really thankful that in that case, just like we get $10 million in our pocket, if we wake up tomorrow morning and we can actually be here and we can function and we can be part of other people's lives and we can go to work or, go play and we can be with others. Like we got to be really, really grateful for that. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's true. Cause at the end of the day, you had to make a good point. I mean, I think we're both religious. And I mean,
absolutely.
I think you have a God-given gift.
Yes.
And it's, I mean, whether God-given, universe, or regardless, you've got tomorrow.
Yeah.
And no matter what you're going through, if you're going through some bad shit, if it turns out that I mean, you could even be going through something bad. You could just want to do something.
Sure.
I know one of my problems is I beat myself up for the past day because I'm like, oh crap, I should have done this, should have done that. But at the end of the day, tomorrow's a new day and you can take and do whatever you want. The world's your oyster. And if you want to go do something, who cares if you... Who cares if you go into debt? I mean, like things like that. Because you look at it, the majority of the United States is in how many tens and 20... listen to the Dave Ramsey show. How many thousands of credit card debt? I'm in $100,000 of credit card debt.
Sure.
If you get yourself in $2,000 of credit card debt for 2 months and then you pull yourself back with a $20,000 paycheck...
Sure. Yep. Exactly.
It's okay.
All is made right. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. And actually, that you make a very good point about that. And I know that, Robert Kiyosaki, right? I read Rich Dad Poor Dad when I was a kid and something my brother, handed to me. And I think he makes a lot of good points. I'm not saying, I'd follow him, like a religious leader, but it's like he does a great job. And his whole point was like, use other people's money. He calls it OPM, other people's money. Smart. So, he's like, and don't be afraid to do that, right? Like I know some very, very successful people, a lot of good friends of mine that I've met doing car rallies and things of that nature. One gentleman, he's big in real estate. I mean, he's got, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of debt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, another guy is a big franchisee and everything in the food space. And it's like, don't be afraid of utilizing other people's money if at one point in time or if throughout your life it's going to make you successful. Don't be afraid of that. You know what I mean? Like whatsoever. And that's a very, very good point. You
and getting
up,
advice.
Too. Yeah.
I mean, because I mean, you're pretty accessible. I mean,
appreciate that.
There's a lot of people that you can call and talk to and say, you know what? People aren't going to turn you away if you call a company and you're like, listen, I want to do this, or when I started my marketing firm, I wasn't sure how to quite charge for different things, and I was
Yeah.
like, I don't like, because I know what I'm doing, but I don't necessarily know how to charge for it. And I called somebody across the country. I said, listen, I want to pay you $200. I said, I want an hour of your time.
Sure.
I said, can I do that? I want to ask you a bunch of questions. And I had a list of questions written down. Yeah, not a problem. We got done with the call. I said, well, you got PayPal, Venmo? He's like, don't worry about it.
Sure. Yep.
People want to help.
They do. They do.
And if you're open to taking it, I mean, it's not that hard.
Yeah. One, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. There's no doubt about that. And as much as I said, I'm like, I don't need a coach in life.
There's two of us here.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. So true. So, and I agree. It's like, yeah, being accessible. I think that's really, really huge. Being a friend to somebody, and you know, and seeing maybe in other people, maybe a little bit of yourself in them, and like how they're trying to get started and how they're trying to progress, and just being humble enough to be able to be like, yeah, like everyone's on a path, right? Like, you know, I go to car shows a lot. I'm a big car guy. I love cars anyway. It's like my only like hobby. Like I do custom made clothes. It's like, and I do, you know, whatever, like business sort of stuff. We have our vacations and we make dinner together. My wife and I, we love it and all that. And it's like, but then like my hobby's cars. Like I love cars. Anyway, so my point is this, like, I go to car shows, right? And like, there's a lot of people. And I think that maybe, you know, back to your point about like success and like overnight and everything, some people look at it and they're probably like, well, yeah, well, this is, and I've had people say stuff before, like, well, this must be really, really nice. Like you got this car, you got this and that. It's like, yeah, but again, like as a business owner, and you know this, you don't get to turn it off. Okay. This isn't like I'm clocking in at my job at the car wash and I'm here for 8 hours and I get tips and I get my, you know, hourly, and then shut it off and I get to go home and I get to get high and I get to go get drunk and I get to do this and that and go carouse with my friends and then do whatever the hell I want to do and then have no problem with it whatsoever and then go right back to work the next day and then clock back in. No, not like that anymore. Okay.
Shocker.
Like, yeah. Right. It's like, no, you're always on, you're always, you know, giving people advice, giving feedback. I'm in constant contact with my clients and my business partners and everybody, right? It's like, you need to have a lot of balls in the air and a lot of plates spinning at once if you want to be able to, you know, achieve a level of success. At least
you'll go without a night of sleep.
Well,
I mean,
right.
it's one of, because at the end of the day, it's your baby.
Absolutely.
And
right.
what's crazy is people look at it and they're like, well, I'm going to open my business because I want all the freedom. It's like, it's a different kind of freedom.
It is a different kind of freedom. Yes, 100%. And it's a very rewarding freedom. Let me just say that. I think that it is absolutely worth it in my opinion. Again, just my opinion. I found it to be worth it right now. Some other people may disagree. Some other people may be like, no way in heck, I wouldn't, you know, suggest that for nothing. But anyway, I guess my point about the cars, like a lot of people are like, oh, that's so nice. And you have this nice car, that nice car and everything. And it's like, yeah, but like, I worked for it. You know what I mean? And like we got to a place and everyone's in a different place. And so when I see somebody else's car, I'm like, I can still appreciate that. I don't care if it's a 1990s vehicle or an 80s. I'm like, I appreciate all cars and all people. And you know, people are like, oh, well, yeah, but you say mine's nice, but look at what you're driving. I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's like everyone's on a path. Everyone's got something that they're interested or they're excited about. And it's like, who am I to tear that down? You know what I mean? Like we've all been there. You know what I mean? Like I'm not driving a Lamborghini or a Ferrari yet. You know what I mean? At some point, hopefully,
of course,
right? Hopefully, or whatever I want. You know what I mean? And much like yourself, right? Like if you want to aim for those heights, or if that's part of your goal or your plan, everyone puts emphasis on something different, right? Like some people are, you know, house poor, and you know what I mean? Like you know, cash rich and car rich, you know, and vice versa, right? So it kind of depends on who you are, you know what I mean, at the end of the day. But
no, I'm with you.
So that's the deal there.
And so one of the things I wanted to touch on was, what's your sales like playbook? Like what works for you? What have you found that works? Like how do you do what you do? Because when I first met you, I thought you were very good. You did something called body mirroring, which is, I think, a very smart move, which is basically just... For people that don't know, it's where you just copy what the other person's doing because it subliminally creates subconscious...
Subtly, right?
Of course, you're not sitting there like they scratch their head. They scratch their nuts, you're scratching. Like, it's basically just...
Yeah, kind of like this sort of...
like
right,
this.
right.
So, it's a smart move. And when I saw you doing that, I'm like, you know your stuff. Like, you're doing good. Because most people, when they first start doing it, they're very rigid. And you can tell that they're copying you.
Correct.
When they're good at it, you just think that you're copying them at that point.
This is true. Yeah. They think it's like their idea, right? At the end of the day. Yeah. And I think that is, you know, you're right. It's definitely a great sales tactic. It's certainly a power tactic, I think, too. I remember, I think, learning about mirroring, maybe spelled out in the way that it was called mirroring from actually Robert Greene's book, 48 Laws of Power, which I don't know if you've read this or not, but anyway,
part of it.
It's a great book.
It's a dangerous book.
It is a dangerous book, and in a sense, it's just, you know, you have to know what you're up to, and you have to know, you know, there are
If you're an evil person, don't read it.
I was just going to say, if you're an evil person, God help us, right? Like there's some stuff in there, but there's some really great tales and foibles and different things where you can look at them and say, yeah, you know what, this does make a lot of sense, and I can see how that kind of story played out. So I think I learned the actual technical like term for mirroring from that. But I think to your point, reading sales books and things, you do it. But to your point about, you know, doing it in general, you can't be too literal, right? Like you can't do everything the exact same because it's almost like when you're a little kid, right? When someone's like, yeah. Yeah, or it's like someone's like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna punch you.
Yep.
You know, it's like, what? No, it's like what? It's a cartoon,
Yep.
exactly. And so eventually you'd want to punch somebody in the face after a matter of a couple seconds, right? Or spit on them or do whatever you want to do, right? So you don't want to do it that literally. But yes, you're right. That is definitely one of the quote unquote tactics you could certainly employ, you know, to your aplomb. But I think the biggest thing, and in all seriousness too, it's just being real with people and just being present and being willing to listen to people. And I think that's one of the things I learned best from my parents is the fact that they're never afraid to listen. And they're not like, hey, you know what, we are going to have all the answers for you. Certainly we're not. But like, we're always here to listen. And we're always here to understand and try to understand like what you're going through and try to help you through a situation. And so I think if you can be real with somebody and have that kind of banter. And my wife is always surprised. She's like, how do you know this stuff about people? You know, we'll be talking about things like, oh yeah, they're doing this, they're doing that, and this happened. She's like, how do you know that about this guy or whatever? I'm like, because he told me, like, why would someone tell you that? I'm like, because like you're a confidant of theirs. Like I'm not the nothing against insurance salespeople, but it's like, I'm not your insurance guy that gives them a call once a year and checks in on them and wishes them a happy birthday. Like I'm in their closet. Like I see their undergarments. Like we talk about fit. We talk about what deodorant they're wearing or antiperspirant. I mean, you're talking about like some of these minute details to many, some very, very personal things. But like to me, it's like I looked at it as more of like, hey, I'm the clothing doctor. How can I help fix, you know what I mean? Like what's going on in the wardrobe. So taking it from that approach, you know what I mean? I think that that's made things a lot easier just to have like that, you know.
Yeah, but I think you hit a good nail. Dialogue. A couple points that I think you hit really well is being authentic.
Thanks.
Because that's one of the things that I think that's the reason that insurance agents and realtors, I think, get a bad name. Because I think realtors are probably the worst at it. And I'm going to throw them under the bus because I don't have any clients that are realtors.
Bad car salespeople out there, too.
Oh, totally.
Plenty of bad clothing salespeople.
Exactly. As soon as they start talking like this, and have you heard about this, Mitch? And you just don't want to trust them. Like, they could be the nicest person.
You can see it happening.
They could be feeding candy to babies. Like,
so true.
And you're looking at them, you're like, I still don't like you. Yes. And they just got done saving someone like a starving nation or something.
Sure, right.
But when it comes down to it, it's authentic. It's authenticity, just being like, you know what?
Thanks.
Nobody talks like this or like, well, that's a really interesting concept. People say, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's not cool.
Right.
People are normal. And if you're normal with people, but then also, like we were talking about before, and like you just said, it's the tiny details.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things you're really good at.
Thanks.
I mean, the fact that you even remembered me from all those years ago.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It says a lot.
Right when you called, I'm like, oh, yeah, for sure. I'm like, audio, right? We talked
exactly.
about audio.
And I literally called you to be on the podcast. We ended up in an hour and a half long conversations, and most of it was literally just audio. It was like, well, you got to try out these speakers, man.
Yeah, for sure. Still want to try those too, by the way. Exactly right. So, yeah. But no, and I think that just, and I'm sure you probably actually noticed that works well for yourself, though, too. And that's why you're just so easy to get along with, because you are approachable and you are just real. And it's like, no, let's just discuss. Let's just chat about it. Like, this isn't rocket science. This is not meant to be salesy. And that's my big thing is like, so, and nothing against, like I said, the Tom James process at all. They did a great job on the training side of things. But like when I was there, we had our playbook, right? Like you literally had to memorize. It was like it's a whole book basically of stuff you got to go through. And it was like their pyramid package dialogue and their dialogue, right? Like you have to have it memorized. And how they would do it is you know, when you first got there, you try to do as much as you possibly could to memorize. Then you go to like your regional meetings and you go to your biannual meetings, and they would literally call people out of the audience. Like all the new people, they'd call you out and be like, hey, you up here, like you're going to go and give the sales pitch. You're going to do it.
So it was
see how good you do. Oh yeah. It was a full on script. Yes. Full script, and you literally had to go through all. I mean, I had it down pat within a week or two, but like they'd call you right up, and like if you did a good job, you might get yourself, some free clothes. If not, you might get slapped on the wrist, or you might be like, hey, your leader gets to talking to, like, hey, you guys suck at what you're doing here.
Yeah.
But either way, that was their whole thing, and like they had the whole book, and you had to open. You had to open the whole book, and you had to walk people through the entire thing and walk through all the levels, and it's like. it's not to say that we don't have levels of quality that we offer. I just don't tell any of my new people that you have to worry about like going through this whole thing of like the discovery and this is what it's going to take and this is the whole dialogue and it's all, canned speech and whatever. Like, no, like, generally, sure, there's a process by which you get together with somebody, you shoot the breeze for a few minutes for say, 3 to 5 or 5 to 10 or whatever it kind of is. And then let's talk about your clothes. Like, where you been buying stuff? Like what's working, what's not working. You know what I mean? Like, tell me about that. Like, oh yeah, had good luck here, had good luck there. Okay, great. What have you not had luck with? Well, it's always a little bit too tight here, a little bit too long there. Okay, no worries. You know what I mean? Like, what are you kind of looking for? I don't know. You're the expert. Okay, well, fair enough. I can take the wheel from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, well, I've kind of been looking for this or is that. Okay, well, that's going to be a tough one to find. Or, oh, you want a light gray suit for your wedding? Probably not the best color for you. Here's the reasons why. Walking people through, just being open, honest, real with people. Like, here's how it goes. And then let's look at some fabric, see what you get excited about. If you like some stuff, great. Love it. I'll help you pick out some cool buttons and threads and linings and monogram it up. And it's no extra cost. That's our big thing I love doing too. So like, nothing wrong again with, my previous company and everything, but like not nickel and diming people for every single little thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like everything is included, right? Like, and I mean, we don't even charge any more for it at all. You could charge people more for it, but just don't tell them you're charging them more for it. I mean, we don't charge people anything more for a credit card fee either. A lot of my competitors are like, oh, we're charging an extra 3.5% or 5% for a credit card. I'm like, doesn't feel very luxurious to spend $3,000 or $1,000
and then you got to pay a 3% fee.
By the way, it's going to be an extra $30 or it's going to be an extra $300 over here for your. You're like what? Say what now? I just spent how much money with you, and you're going to whack me for a credit card fee? So anyway, stuff like that, just like just being upfront, being honest with people, and being open, and just like making it feel good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Making it feel luxurious at the end of the day. That's the thing. It's not about like, ooh, well, that's going to be extra $50. That's an extra 25. That's an extra 150. Like, well, how much money am I spending here on making this jacket look a little bit different? Like, it didn't get better quality wise. It just got more expensive. You know what I mean?
Like you said, it's the experience.
Yeah,
It's not something where if you start nickel and diming them, they get back into their own head. And at the end of the day, you want them to enjoy where they're at, fully comprehend what they're doing. And then once they're like, okay, this is my dream suit, or this is my dream product, XYZ. Then it feels good.
Right. The price is the price. You know what I mean? It's like, no, it's just exactly as advertised, how I told you it was going to be exactly right.
I got to tell you, I used to work with a retired New York cop back in my old job. And I remember working with him. Everyone else on the phone had problems with him.
Okay.
Because he just, at the end of the day, everybody else wanted to, have a certain level of decorum. And they would say everything just perfect. And I'd get on the phone with them. And he's like, well, yeah, he's like, why the hell should I buy from you? I said, why the hell shouldn't you? I said, come on. I said, I'm on the phone with you. I said, why the hell am I wasting my time with you?
Yeah.
And he just goes, well, that's a fair answer. He's like, well, I'll take and buy this $3,000 worth of stuff.
Really? Oh, that's awesome.
And at the end of the day, it's because people want to talk to people.
Yeah.
They don't want to talk to some sort of facade. And that's the reason I throw realtors, bankers, insurance agents, car salesmen under the bus. Because those industries are largely populated by a lot of those people.
Yeah.
And good to hear what you were saying about the scripts.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're not a fan of them, but I just...
No, I'm not at all. Yeah.
Do you think you're born with sales, or do you think it's something you can learn?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think that it's something you can learn. I really, truly do. I think, certainly there's something that's maybe inborn there. I don't know. But like, I used to be really, really shy, really shy. I mean, you ask my parents about that.
Shy?
Very. Yeah. Like, I mean, I was a kid that'd be like hanging on my mom's, jacket, like up until I was, I don't know, 8 years old, 9 years old. You know what I mean? Like going shopping, like not leaving her side. And then I don't really know like what kind of like made me get out of my shell that way. But I think probably it was like the Beanie Baby sales thing. I think that was probably a part of it.
And how old were you at this age?
Oh, what, Beanie Baby sales, you mean?
Yeah.
I think I was 11, I want to say, when that was all kind of going on. 11 till I was about 13. It was only about 2 years of like a good ride with that. But right around there. You know what I mean? And just, kind of figuring out my own way to, look online and the little of online we had back in those days, but finding out, okay, this one's going to go extinct or whatever they called it, finding out where they're selling the things at, making my parents drive me around and spending what little money I had in my savings on buying some that I knew were going to go extinct and become more rare, and then selling them a couple months later or whatever it was whatever, 100, not 100, but a 10x profit or whatever, 20 or 30x profit, depending upon what it was. So, but I think that the other off the Beanie Baby story that kind of comes, jutting off of that one at a young age too, and this goes back to being honest and being upfront with people, is a situation that I had there. So what I used to do was I used to find out which ones go extinct, and then I would post up on Tie. So Tie is the one that manufactures all the Beanie Babies, like the little Tie stuffed animals.
Okay.
They had a guest book. Okay. Well, this is before your eBays in the world. This is before your Craigslists and your everything else out there, right? So what I found out was, you could go ahead and put it in the newspaper, and I could go and take out an ad in the newspaper, and I could put it in there that, I've got these Beanie Babies available. Instead, what I did was I basically went on Ty's website, and on Ty's website, they had a guest book you could sign. And of course, there's all these moms and, kids on there. They're like, oh my gosh, I love my Beanie Babies, and they're so great. And Bongo the monkey is so cute. And look at his little thing. Anyway, instead of doing that, I went on there and saw all these people that were posting about like how great stuff was. And I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to post a listing on here, and I'm going to run an auction for these things. And I'm like, starting tonight at 10 p.m., we're going to start an auction for this Beanie Baby, and our auction price is going to start at $50. You know what I mean? And then we're going to end the auction tomorrow evening.
11, 12 years old?
I was 11 years old, yes. And I'm like, and I don't know where I even got the idea to be able to run an auction, but I'm like, you know what? It works, at auction houses and whatever else, and let's see the price go up. So that's what I did. So I would make a post like every hour, basically, that I was awake, and I'd start at like 8 o'clock at night, and I'd stay up till, 10 or 11, as late as my parents would let me, and some nights they'd be going to card club, and they'd come back at midnight, and I was still up, and then, that. So in which this is one of these things that actually happened. So anyway, so I'd run the auction for a day or two, and then whatever the price came out to be, I'd say, okay, send me your email, and then I'll email you the details, and we'll have you send like a, cashier's check or a money order, and I'll send you the Beanie Baby, So anyway, so the one night, and this is when I remember my younger brother had 3 of them. It was a trio. It was 3 dinosaurs, and it was Steg, Bronte, and whatever the heck the other one was. I forget the other one. Anyway, it was basically a Brontosaurus, Stegosaurus, and something else. Anyways, like a T-Rex. Whatever. There's 3 of them. My younger brother had a pair of 3. I had a pair of 3, and I ran an auction. Right. So ran the auction. I usually just put on there like, hey, I'm going to keep the price updating and everything. I put my email on there. This time, I was brash enough at this point to put my phone number on there. Okay.
Oh, no.
And it was my cell phone number that I had just gotten and everything. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to kind of wheel and deal with this thing. So these 3, they're $5 a piece, right? So I'm like, all right, so the trio, I'm going to list the trio up for sale for, whatever, starting at $250. Whoever gives me, the most in between this hour and that hour, whatever else, I'm going to sell it. So started getting emails, started getting phone calls, whatever else, that sort of thing. Ended up getting one lady on the line. She wanted to give me $400 for 3 Beanie Babies. And you got to remember, I'm 11 years old or 12 years old, right? I'm like, that's a lot of money to an 11 or 12 year old. And so I'm like, okay. I'm like, I'll do that deal with you, whatever else. I'll do that. So anyway, and then get off the phone about 20 minutes later or so, phone rings. Somebody else, they're like, I'll give you $1,200 for the 3. I'm like, wait, what? I already told the one lady they're sold for $400 for the 3, but now you're offering like this person's at $1,200. So my parents get home, and I didn't say any yes to anybody aside from the first lady. I'm like, okay, cool, like $400, you can take them. Tell my parents about what all happened, and my dad is like, well, you're gonna sell it to the first lady though, right? Because you told her yes, and she's the first one that offered you $400. You agreed to it. I'm like, yeah, but he's like, no, yeah, buts. It's like, you said. It's like, that's a binding social contract, first of all. But he's like, if you don't do that, and if you go with the other person, he's like, I'll never, ever trust you ever again. He's like, all we have in this life is our word. And he's like, if you are going to break your word, it's like, then I can't trust you. And that was a really, really tough lesson to learn at like 12. You know what I mean?
That's a lot of money.
And to this day, my older brother still is like, you should have taken the $1,200. Like, who gives it? You know what? I'm like, whatever. But yeah, so it's just like, but that was a tough lesson to learn. And I still sold them for the $400. I did the right thing, right? And again, that kind of gets back to like what we do now. Yep. And it's like doing the right thing. No matter what, even if it costs me money, even if it's not profitable, doing what's right and doing what people deserve, that's really what it's all about. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, anyone can chase dollars, and I made plenty of money after that fact. You know what I mean? Like, plenty. Like, I had other deals. There is other stuff I can go into, but I can digress on the Beanie Baby story stuff. But there was a lot of really, really cool experiences that I had doing that really kind of set myself up, you know what I mean, for sales. And I think that was probably one of the key reasons why I maybe do what I do now is I love the energy of the hunt and of the kill and of the process and like, getting along with other people. It's a thrill. It really truly is. And I don't know, I think it's really, really neat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was one other one, and I'll mention it real quick, but there was one other situation with the Beanie Babies I remember. And there was a girl that had, how many was it? I think she had 18 or 20. It was something like that, 18 or 20 of them, I want to say. And if we don't have time for this.
No, we're good. I'm just checking.
Okay, no, you're cool. I just want to make sure. But she had 18 or 20 of them. I knew they were all, worth a lot of money and all this.
Yeah.
And I had a crush on this girl. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, and she knew that I was into buying and selling. I think this was in 7th grade. 7th grade, we were in art class. And she's like, I'll sell them to you, if you want to buy them all or whatever else. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, how much do you want? And she's like, I know that you make a lot of money off these. So she just shot from the hip. She's like, I want $1,800 for all of them. I'm like, okay. I'm like, not a small amount of money, to be fair. I mean, I'd made some money doing what I did, but I maybe at that point had made $4 or $5 grand total. You know what I mean? In that amount of time. And I was kind of getting into my groove. And I'm like, sure. So she's like, what, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, I'm serious. Like, yeah, we'll do this deal. So her girlfriend, Katie, her and Julie sit there and they're writing up a contract in art class. Like all the kids are like around us as we're writing up like this contract and we're both signing off on it. Like we can even enter into a contract at the age of God knows what, 12 or 13. Doesn't matter. So we're writing up a contract. So I went to my older brother and that night and I'm like, his name's Brian. I'm like, B, I'm like, you know what I'm doing with this stuff. You can trust me. You know that I'll make money on these. I'm like, I listed off all the prices of like what all the stuff is. I'm like, I can make back my money double and more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm like, I need a loan. And he's like, for how much? And he's like, $1,800. He's like, phew. It's like, Jesus, it's like, you're 12 years old. You know what I mean? But he's like, all right. He's like, I'll help you out. He's like, I know that you know what you're doing with this. So he gave me a loan. So he gave me a certified cashier's check that literally that night, went to the bank and I approached him right away on all this stuff because I was doing all the math on it. He went and he got a check.
Wow.
Went and got it. Next day I come back into class. I'm like, here you go. Like, there's your money, and she's like, oh my God, really? She was floored. I'm like, yeah, it's serious heart attack. So so she brought the Beanie Babies in. And then I think I sold 8 of them and I had already made up the 1,800. And then I had another 10 to 12 more to sell still, so I did very, very well on that. And again, it was something where I could interface with the girl that I had a crush on and, her friends and prove that I knew what I was up to. And that you're pretty, I'm a pretty happening dude, So so anyway, so that was just kind of a fun little thing. But so again, getting back to that, it's good to be real with people. It's good to have that interaction and a relationship. And that's what I love so much really about doing what I do right now is just actually having the relationship. Like when I was doing retail, fine and all, but a lot of times I wouldn't be, working on a random Tuesday when somebody would come back in or whatever. And
it's a one and
you
done.
Miss them. Yeah, it's a one and done sort of a scenario, right? It's not as much of a relationship build. It's like, nope, I'm here. I'm the hired sales.
What do you think is the biggest the biggest secret to relationship-based sales? Because just to kind of expand on it, relationship-based sales, it's kind of keeping that relationship going. You're selling them one suit. Next thing you know, you might be selling them another one. It may be next week. It may be next year. It may be when your kid goes to college.
Or whatever.
Something like that.
I think that it really kind of starts not only with just being real with each other and having open, communication, just clear communication in general. I mean, communication is so important. Not being dodgy about stuff, not lying about anything. I mean, if something's running late from the factory or something's slowed up, I'll let people know about it right away. Hey, sorry to tell you, but we know we were shooting for a certain, time frame on this. Fabric's on back order. I'm not happy about it. I'm going to make it right with you. I'm going to give an extra couple bucks off or whatever, but we're going to get it. Don't worry. Rest assured. We're good. Being real, again, being upfront. Delivering a high quality product, delivering when it comes down to knocking out the fit for somebody, making sure they look and feel like $1 million, where when they walk out, like you said, people are taking notice and they're giving them compliments and they're every single time they're wearing it, they're like, man, I feel great wearing this. You know what I mean? So those couple of things. Now, granted, other people can do what I do, certainly. So again, I think that just comes down to how you meet each other then too. And that's why so much what we do is by referral. You know what I mean? I do not do any advertising. You'd asked about brand and all this other kind of stuff earlier. I started this thing with nothing. I mean, I literally cleaned out my 401k. I mean, I didn't have much left in there, by the way, by that point, because
let's cover the logo too before we forget.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Sorry, keep going.
No, you're good. So like when I first started, I mean, we talked about 2007, 2008. I mean, at one point I probably had, I don't know, what, $35,000-ish, $38,000 at that age. I mean, in my 401k. Obviously, we had the housing market crash.
Yep.
I had less than a third of that left over. You know what I mean? So I think by the time I paid penalties, I had probably right around about $12,000 that I was actually able to pull out of my 401k. And ever since that happened, I've been the type that I'm like, you know what? Like, and it's nothing against brokers or stockbrokers or anything else, but the attitude that I got from my guy was like, well, the market adjusts. And so keep putting money in and the market will come back. And it'll be there by the time you retire. It'll be there. I'm like, I just got adjusted out of like 2/3 of my entire retirement savings. And I've been really, really diligent about putting money in here, for the company match and everything else. Like, and now it's just gone. And that's your story is the fact the market adjusts.
Yeah.
That's it. So ever since then, I've been very, very much of the mind that I'm like, you know what? If it is to be, it is up to me. And I am going to make the correct decisions and I'm going to make the best informed decisions that I possibly can. Not always correct. I've fallen into plenty of situations where I've lost money. Sure.
Yeah.
Many of us have. You know what I mean? But as Rich Dad Poor Dad always says, Robert Kiyosaki, if you go bankrupt by the time you're 40, you got more than plenty of time to be able to get it all back by the time you retire. So take chances, do make mistakes, yes, but learn from those mistakes. And so that's me learning from that scenario that I'm going to put money into myself, into my business, into growing my business, my investments, into other things that I do. And to this day, I'm still not a big stock guy. I'm just not. You know what I mean? Like,
me
that
neither.
that really stung me.
I ended up taking my money out because I looked at it and I'm like, I'm going to wait on a couple % return year over year.
Yeah.
If I were to take and invest this money in myself, grow something in my business, get another client, I could 10x my money in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah. Well, and you hit a good point earlier, and I mentioned it. Well, I meant to bring this up. When starting off, right? Like things can be tough. And like we talked about that. I mean, taking that chance on yourself. So I had, like I said, about $12,000 to be able to start this thing off. I didn't know where to go, whatever else. I turned my world upside down, literally. I mean, I was used to working a job. I was used to doing the 9 to 5, all of that, being on the road, seeing clients. I had none of it. So like literally we were going to bed at like, I don't know, 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon and then staying, probably right around there, getting up at about 8 or 9 o'clock at night or so. And like, doing our day, working through the night because a lot of these different places over in China or Thailand or wherever else are on a totally different time schedule, reaching out to them, interfacing, going back and forth. What do you guys carry? What do you do for your standard, whatever, default craft, everything. Yeah. So doing that, ordering in swatches, figuring out their measurement processes, never going over there, mind you. I've yet to actually go over to China to see my factory. I've seen video. I've met plenty of people via video chat now, met plenty of their people when they come to town, to Chicago or New York, whatever, what have you, but I've never been over there. So starting off with such a small amount of money, it's really, really difficult, right? So you got to be very, very smart about where you're going to put your money. So you asked about like, hey, doing the logo thing and all that. Like, we literally did a logo design contest back in 2004. And my wife actually was friends with the art teacher at the time, where she used to go to high school in Cedarburg, and Ms. Mortal. So we talked to Ms. Mortal about it. We said, hey, would you assign this to your class for a local business that's going to do custom made clothing? This is our outlook. This is who we're, working with, all of that. Create logos. And so each kid basically submitted at least one. You could submit up to 3. So we had, I think at the end of the day, 27, 28 different logos that were submitted to us out of 22 or 23 kids. And one of the gents, that came up with one, his name was Max. He actually developed our first logo. So it's changed since, me, but it was cool because we got the logo from him. We bought it from him for like $500. You're like, hey, we had all these logos to choose from, and he made slight little modifications for us. And then we bought the logo from him, free and clear. And then we gave him some garment bags and wooden hangers, and we got them all done up. Awesome. And so it was just kind of a really cool experience. And he was only like 15, I want to say at the time, maybe 16. So young guy, much like myself, doing Beanie Babies sort of thing. Like, oh, this is kind of cool, So anyway, but when it comes down to the making of the money, so back over that point, you'll have a lot of bad months. You know what I mean? And I still have bad months here or there. You know what I mean? Like we're not infallible. I mean, there's possibility for that to happen. You can end up going sideways and you can go into the red, and hopefully you're more in the black than you're in the red. Yeah. But I remember when we first started, it took a while because just trying to figure out who we were going to work with. And like a lot of the stuff we got in had what I would call like rack appeal. So rack appeal is like, hey, it looks good on the rack, but as soon as you get it off the shelf and you start wearing the stuff, doesn't look so hot anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Buttons are falling off, the stitching's coming undone, seams are popping.
Yeah.
And that's after a couple weeks of wearing stuff. So what I was initially doing, because I was in my non-compete, I was working with these different factories and I'd bring stuff in on my own dime out of my 12K startup money. And I'd be like, hey, you try wearing this, you try wearing that. You know what I mean? Like, let me know how this actually like fits and looks and whatever, and give me honest to God feedback of like how it's going. And after several months, we found out things weren't really going so hot. So I went through, I think, literally 6 different manufacturers before I landed on the manufacturer I currently work with out of Hong Kong.
Wow.
So it took that long. And like I said, not having, the wherewithal to know who to go to or going over there or anything, that's how we did it. And so it was a while there. I mean, it took us a good year and a half, almost 2 years. And my wife got to the point where she's like, babe, like, I love you, but like, when are you going to get a big, when are you getting a big boy job? When are we going to stop just pretending that we're doing this business? Like, are you going to go back to Tom James? Or I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I'm like, I put so much time and effort in this. I have to make this work. And finally, I told her, I'm like one good month will literally outweigh all the bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like when you're only making $1,200 a month, $600 a month, maybe $1,800, $2,000 in a month, like that's okay when you're first getting going. But it's like when you do that for a year and a half straight, and you're just like, dude, we got a mortgage to pay, we got car payments, we got bills, like all that, right? Like we're living tight to the belt here. And like, and we were both actually, that's the funny thing, we were both unemployed for a while because my wife was working her job, but literally 3 months after I got laid off, she got laid off. So we were both literally unemployed for basically a year before I could even start my business. And then she finally found another job. But again, that was, bad times economically and whatever else for everyone. So anyway, so that being said, we had one good month, I remember, and it was like, babe, like I did, this in sales, and I'm like, we just made like whatever, 16, 18,000 in like 1 month. And she's like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, damn, okay. She's like, well, okay, all right. Like, and then she was on board. And then she's like, okay.
When it hits,
it hits. Yeah. And it's like, probably like, it's probably like real estate, right? It's like the same kind of rush all the realtors out there get when they sell a big property or something that first time. Like, oh, hey, cool.
Oh, yeah.
So and that's good. But it's not to pick on realtors. It's like anything, right? It's
when you get that chunk of change, it's just like,
right, exactly. It's like anything. You get a big chunk of change in your pocket. You're like, man, like I'm flush, and it's just, of course, inevitably, it's always like, oh, it's got to go here, 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 and here, and now I'm back down to having a couple $1,000 in my pocket.
It's like that 18,000 was great, but you only walk away with like two.
Walk away with like two, exactly. Yeah. No, you're so right. So that made all the difference, though. And so after seeing that, then I'm like, okay, like I know that I can make this work.
So
you know what I mean?
Let me ask you, how do you juggle your workload? Because how many orders do you have in the works right now that you're managing?
How many orders?
Or let's not even say orders. Let's see how many projects.
Yeah, you could say orders. You could say that. I would say right now in the works for me personally, 35 probably. 35,
how do you manage
maybe 40.
All that? Because I personally think that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a fair amount, to be fair. I'm really, really good at like being detail orientated. My older brother is a huge perfectionist, as I probably mentioned before. I took a page out of his book on that. Very, very down to the, the dot, dotting the I, crossing the T with my systems and everything, keeping stuff all together. That's one of my strong suits, luckily. And, it goes along with doing right by people and accounting for things properly, right? Now, I'm not saying things can't fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
They certainly can. And those orders could be as simple as a couple of shirts, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For like a brand new person that's, just starting at a business, to 5 or 6 or 8 suits or whatever else, you know what I mean? For a wedding party, to 2 or 3 suits for another person who's a brand new client or an existing client, that sort of thing. So new orders are tougher to track, right? Just because there's a lot more going on.
Yeah.
Existing orders are simple. It's existing. You and I sit down and I pull up my order system and I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
How are we doing fit wise? Okay, let's adjust here, 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 and here. Okay, loving the style. Any changes? Yeah, one little tweak. Good. And now we have our template going, type in some numbers, and save it in the system, and we're good.
We've disagreed on it, but because you're a little more old school with your methods.
I am.
But I'm a huge proponent of CRMs.
Yeah. Oh, no. I think those are great. No, to be fair.
It's just how you work and how you're used to working. Because that's one of the biggest things that I saw. Because before I went and worked at this company, it was because I was also, not to brag, but kind of like you, I was the youngest guy at the company when I started there. They actually thought I was 28.
Nice.
Just because of the
Dude,
facial hair, it works, man.
It does work, and that's actually what you're looking for at that point, too.
Totally.
You want to look older.
As soon as I shaved, everyone looked at me. They're like, we didn't believe you. Because I was 19. They're like, we didn't believe you. They're like, now we kind of do.
I bet so.
But basically,
That's
I
funny.
remember going there, and before that, I had worked with businesses because COVID hit, and it was like, what do I do? I mean, I was bored because there's nothing going on.
Yeah.
So I ended up working with different businesses and grew them to a couple $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
But there were things that I just still didn't quite understand because I kind of got the sales down pat, I got the marketing down pat, I got some of the systems down pat.
Okay.
But going into the company, the big thing that clicked for me was like this software. It's like, so this is how you manage everything, and this is how it works. And then I got out of there, and I was always chasing that. Back to our point earlier is why I'm creating a CRM, and it's releasing hopefully in the next few weeks.
That's awesome.
Is basically just kind of taking my workflow of everything I learned working independently with the businesses, working in sales, and then working with what I work with now.
Yeah.
Because I think that's one of the biggest problems when people get into business. Because a lot of systems, like you're a very detail-oriented person, so you kind of had a little bit of a background to say, here's kind of the basics of what I need to get done.
Yep.
Where a lot of people, what blows my mind is they'd never heard of a CRM.
It's true. Yep.
And basically a CRM, for people that don't know, is just, it manages all your contacts, all your clients, all your invoicing, all your notes. So when I'm on the phone with a client, I take notes of, we talked about this. I met with them. We talked about that.
Yep.
Here's the invoice. Here's a quote. They're looking at this 10 months down the line, set out a task.
Sure.
Things like that. So I think regardless if it's a system you're using or it's a software, you need something to keep you on track. Otherwise...
Yeah, otherwise things will fall through the cracks.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've definitely been a seasoned enough vet to be able to get into my own, rut or whatever you want to say, my own, way of doing things.
It works, it works.
This is true, but I agree with you, though, 100%. I think a CRM is a great way to go.
Yeah.
And like I talked to you about, I think it'd be great to be able to try out your system, especially for all of our new people coming in, because we're trying to expand, you know what I mean, in business all over the U.S. And I think that it's very, very helpful to have something that has those constant reminders that can, let you know, because... dude, we've all done it, right? Where you're like, I've got it on my calendar that I got to reach out to this person. You get busy and that day just gets crazy, and then like you kind of forget about it. And then I look back a couple weeks, I'm like, oh crap, like I forgot to reach out to this person and that guy wanted this and this person wanted that. And like, okay. You know what I mean? Like got to get back on track with that. So I think it's very, very good, especially for younger people. Like, I live by my calendar, right? To be fair, like you have to have something to go to that you can say, yep, here's what we're doing. And that's another thing too about, you're talking about how do you build a relationship. I'm old school, as you mentioned. Yeah. When I say I'm going to be somewhere, and you're the same way, obviously, because you're here today, I'm going to be there. Like, it doesn't require me like reaching out a couple days before, like, hey, still on for that meeting? I don't do that kind of crap. Okay. Yeah. First of all, it allows people to go ahead and try to jump out on you. That's the other thing. So as a salesperson, I want to keep my meetings. I don't want people like having any kind of an excuse to be like, I meant to reach out to you. Today's not going to work. Like, oh, great. So you can go ahead and blow up my day in order to be able to go and do whatever you want to do. And now I get no income and I have downtime where I have to figure out what else to do with my time, which is fine. We're salespeople, we're business people. You have to be able to be fluid and basically flexible, right? Like, if you're rigid and you're ultra rigid, don't be a business owner. You know what I mean? Like, do not do it. If you're way too rigid of a person, you've got to be flexible. You've got to be, amenable. You've got to be able to flow with stuff.
The tactic you're talking about is, I use the same tactic on you to get
really,
here, because it's like, I'm not going to call him. I'm going to call him when I'm on my way here, because in that way, there's no backing out. And it's just, it sounds harsh and mean, but it's one of those things we all do.
It's one of the things we do. Yeah. Well, at least good salespeople, I think, do
exactly,
that, right?
Because you call them 3 days beforehand, they're like, oh, yeah, because then they're thinking, well, I don't want to do that. I'd rather do something else.
Sure, yep.
And I think that comes down to integrity, like you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure about you, but I've got a lot more respect for people that are like, if they say they're going to be somewhere, be there.
Yep.
Like, even if you're 5-10 minutes late, I don't care if you're there.
Yeah, but as long as you're there.
Exactly. Because it's a lot of people will be like, well, I'll have to think about it, or maybe let me see if something else comes up.
Ifs or maybes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or wait for something better.
I hate maybes. Yeah.
I hate it.
It's the worst. But you're right, though, about that. And like you said, I mean, that's what my dad taught me, though, too. It's like, if you give someone your word is your bond, and that is what you're doing. Like, that's the deal. And being punctual, that's huge in my book. You know what I mean? Again, for the younger folks out there, I know you said if you're 5 or 10 minutes late, at least you're there. Yeah, I'm the guy that's like, if I'm there right on time, I'm late by 5 minutes. Like, I like being there 5 minutes to, 2 or 3 minutes early. in that door, sitting there in the waiting room for somebody.
Yeah.
I don't like them having to wait. Like you and I both deal with important people, their time is valuable. I don't care if they're politicians or doctors or lawyers or whatever. It doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter if they're worth $1 billion or zero. The point is, it's just a respect.
It's a man of your
thing.
word thing.
Yeah, it's a man of your word thing.
I like to get there 15 minutes early just because.
That's great. Yeah.
For me, it's more about what kills me is when I'm waiting there and it's like, okay, we have a meeting at 2:00.
Yep.
It's 2:05. It's 2:10.
Yep.
When that happens,
All been there.
I'm ready to walk out and be like, you
I'm
can go
sure.
find somebody else. I don't want to work with you.
Yeah.
But no, it's one of those things because I know I get there 15 minutes early because it gives me a chance to acclimate.
True.
Because I love. I'll go into places and just throw myself into the fire, but sometimes for me it's like, okay, get myself in there. Okay, we're getting good,
Absolutely, yeah. Well, you got to whatever you want to say. You got to kind of acclimate or attenuate your energies or whatever else you want to say to what's going on around you and the people around you and what their personalities are like and how they handle others. And
you walk in there, crack a joke, and it's like wrong.
Right,
place.
right, exactly. Yes, yeah. You got to kind of feel that out a little bit. I agree with you. So yep, for sure, man. So no
I guess
doubt about it.
one last thing before we close it out.
Yeah.
Because I know everybody sees all this success online and everything else. What's the biggest thing you're still working on?
I mean, myself every single day. I mean, as trite as that sounds, right? I mean, trying to be better at what I do, trying to be a better communicator with people, trying to be more and more. And to your point about the CRM, that's something that actually help you in a big way, right?
Yeah.
And that is a thing. We all need to work on it, right?
Yeah.
We do. And so working on ourselves, being a better leader, overall, just to again, lead by example. I think that's a huge thing. It's the top down sort of an approach. I know that's something that's been employed forever, but being out there, being with your people, being with your crew, showing that you're not afraid to get out and do the exact same thing that they're doing and more, leading by example on sales, that sort of thing, not just kicking back and sloughing off and being like, hey, I own the company. I can just go ahead and kick back and do whatever I want to do and go on vacation all the time. Yeah. No, I'm still out. I'm boots on the ground. I'm doing the deal as much as anybody else is.
Yeah.
Other things to work on. I don't know. There's a lot of start doing and there's also a lot of stop doing. Like somebody, probably great once said, there really are. There's a lot of things where it's like if it's a time waster, it's like just don't do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have the courage to say no, or just say what, I would love to help, but in this situation, I just can't. I can't commit myself to that right now. I'm too focused on other projects, and being able to say no, and that's something I definitely need to work on as well. Because I'm a yes man. I'm like I hate to when people call me, and you wouldn't believe how many people will call me, and they're like, "Dude, I need a suit for a wedding coming up." I'm like, "Okay, when is it?" And they're like 3 weeks from now. I'm like, "Buddy of yours? No, yours? Like, yeah, mine. Like." Yeah, your wedding. Okay, okay, bonehead. You think you maybe had a little bit of heads up? Do you think? A little bit of proactivity, people, please.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That's all I'm asking for. You're trying to get a custom-made suit in, time in 3 weeks for your wedding of all things. You've had time to plan. So being proactive about stuff, I wish people were more proactive and a little bit more upfront about things. That drives me nuts. And then when I have to go ahead and put down everything that I'm doing in order to be able to help you and, not charge you any extra because I'm not that guy, that definitely rubs me the wrong way, I'll say. But again, I'm such a yes man that I love trying to help people. You know what I mean? When I can.
Oh, I agree. Because I think one of the things that I hate the most in business is this whole thing about negotiating where people don't want to show their cards.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's so much easier to say, here's what I need to pay. Here's my budget.
Sure. Here's
what we can do. Because I'll walk into places and they're like, so what do you charge? It's like, it goes what do you want? Are we talking you got a $500 budget? Are we talking you got a $50,000 budget?
Right.
And what are your expectations and what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And like you said, people, a lot of it's not really transparency because some of those people go in and say it's 3 weeks and then it's like, well, actually it's 2 months. It's like, work with me here.
Right. Correct. Yep. And we get asked that question all the time, right? What's normal turnaround?
Yeah.
It's usually 6 to 8 weeks. But again, I like to under promise and over deliver. That's the idea, right? And that was a Tom James doctrine too. And I think that's a very, very good doctrine to have. And it's so true. You know what I mean? And again, that goes into, impressing upon people that you know what you're doing and taking care of people and building a relationship. And that's a big part of it without a doubt. So that's kind of the deal there.
Well, sweet.
Yeah,
well,
man.
Mitch, I appreciate you doing this.
Thanks very much, man. I sure appreciate the time and coming over here and setting this all up and doing the deal. And I definitely want to try out the CRM system too. So,
we'll give it a shot.
Sounds good to me, man. So awesome.
Thanks.
Thanks again.